Hi. Um, this is my first YouTube video ever, so it feels kind of weird speaking into a camera with no one listening. But I'm gonna talk about how it's like to be in love with a girl, not what it's like being a lesbian. I don't know. I'm bi. But what it's like to be in love with a girl that used to be a boy. Um, and the reason I'm losing my YouTube virginity right now is that I saw this really moving clip about Haley, a young trans girl, and her very loving and accepting parents. It was a great clip from Our America series with Lisa Ling, and one part really moved me, like when Haley's father said with tears in his eyes, like he was really concerned about like who's gonna love my child when she grows up. And I just I wanted to tell him that someone will. And you know, there's lots of people out there in love with transgendered people, and lots of them are on YouTube posting clips that are, yeah, so this is just another example. But my friend Warren, who's also like, is a big part of the trans community on YouTube, he always says like, you know, you should write, you should do this, you have a voice worth being heard. So I thought I'd share my story as well. So I'm in love with a trans girl. Her name is Moa, and she's amazing. She's smart, funny, really, really sweet, have this huge heart, always does stuff for other people. So I'm so in love. And we fell in love really quickly. I usually describe it like, it felt like, you know, these snow globes that you have with little landscapes in them and stuff. It felt like someone had just picked up the snow globe I happen to live in and like just shaking it really hard. Yeah, so much changed inside me and stuff when we anyway, this was when she was still living as a boy, because I met her when she was a boy. And well, we talked a lot, which is like a big part of our relationship, talking about everything for a long time. And we talked about gender and stuff. We're both feminists, so but it was always, she always had this question like, what is it like to be a woman? And the more we spoke about it, the clearer it became that it wasn't just a question. It was like a strong sense of not being a man, a very strong feeling of actually being a woman. And this wasn't the first time she thought of that at all. It was just the first time that someone else heard it. And as a child, she told me she used to think like she couldn't explore those feelings because she felt like she knew in her heart that if she did, she could never go back to living as a boy or man, which is probably, yeah. And she also thought like she could never be happy if that's like doing that, becoming a girl, although she was born in a male body, which is what society tells us, like penis, boy. So yeah, which is awful. But you know, the more she explored it, the more we explored it, of her being a woman, the clearer it stood that it was like it was the right thing. And people ask me all the time, like, what it's like when your boyfriend became a girlfriend. What did it feel like all of a sudden? And I'm like, it wasn't very sudden. For us, it wasn't. It was a process, and I was a part of it the whole time. So I guess that would make it easier. Um, but also like second of all, and most importantly, it was so obvious, so obvious it was right. So you know, she was Moa was really unhappy when we met. Like, she barely wanted to live at all, which is, terrible to love someone that feels like that. But as she gradually like came out, first to me and then to some close friends and then publicly, it was like this light going on inside of her, like, yeah, turning on a light. It was such a big change, and of course, like, it wasn't just the trans thing, but it was a huge part. And so many aspects have changed. When in the beginning, before she had come out to me, she really 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 hated her body, which she, well, um, still do. But now, I mean, the more comfortable she gets by being a woman, you see those changes. Like, sometimes she can feel a little bit sexy, or just self-confident, and the stuff that would be impossible to imagine just a year ago. So it's so amazing seeing those changes as someone you love, and it's impossible not to be supportive when it's so obvious it's the right thing. And well, I just wanted to tell Steve, if you will ever be watching this, or someone else that will, that I'm convinced that someday someone will make a silly YouTube video about your daughter, and it's very possible to be happy in love as a transgender person. That might be obvious to some people, but it's also, it's those kind of things you need to hear when you're insecure. Because me and Moa, we're really happy together. She's in China right now, which is hard, but also good because she gets to do what she loves, like studying Chinese. I'm going there this summer. But when we spoke, like, just a few days, a week ago, and I was like, talking about the future and maybe moving. We live in Sweden. Obviously, I'm not a native English speaker, but changing cities because of my studies. And she was like, "Yeah, let's do that, the two of us." And I was like, "Yeah, but do you want to study there?" And she was like, "Well, I want to be where you are," and I feel the same way. So yeah, that's just a little sneak peek into our lives. And yeah, I hope that someone will see this and think that there's hope or whatever. Yeah, bye.